Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in here Tuesday, May 13th. Good afternoon to you, Duval. So, schedule release is tomorrow. I thought it was on my birthday, May 15th, but it's actually tomorrow, Wednesday, May 14th, which is good for me. Not going to be working the night of my birthday, making sure we're keeping you up to date with the schedule. So I'm very thankful for that. Right now, we're going to preview the schedule release, right? We're going to talk about all the different home games and away games. We do know of one specific game, where it will be, when it will be, who it will be against, and that's the London game. And so we're going to dive into all that good stuff, preview the schedule, talk about everything that kind of goes into the Jags schedule. And it's a fun day around the league. And the NFL, they are a 24/7 business, right? 24/7, 365. They keep you locked in as a fan year round, literally year round. It's really impressive. I mean, there's like a couple months where you kind of don't have much in the middle of the summer before training camp gets kicked off. But even then, you've got some OTAs and different things. So it's unbelievable, the machine that the NFL has created, the content machine. But we're going to dive into this schedule release right here, right now. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. So we'll start with the home games and the away games. Home games, obviously the three divisional opponents, Texans, Colts, Titans. You also have the Chargers, the Chiefs, two AFC West opponents, the Jets, the Seahawks, the Panthers, and the Rams. What we know so far, the Rams is going to be in London in week 7. And the NFL schedule is now 17 games. So the Jaguars have 9 home games, one of them in London. But because of the 17-game schedule, the Jaguars actually do have a full allotment of 8 home games and 8 away games this year, right? So in past years, like, you see the Jaguars having 1 home game in London, and that means they only have 7 games in Jacksonville. They actually still have 8 games in Jacksonville this year, which is good. Good for the fans, good for everybody that wants to go out and obviously see this football team play. There's more interest in this team with the new regime, and especially with Travis Hunter being in Jacksonville, than there really ever has been before. Probably dating back to like the late 90s, straight up. So that's fun. Again, home games, Texans, Colts, Titans, Chargers, Chiefs, Jets, Seahawks, Panthers, and the Rams in London, in week 7. So you're going to get to see all those teams except the Rams here in Jacksonville. With that game being week 7, that means the Jaguars should be able to get the week 8 bye if they want. And having a week 8 bye can be very advantageous because of obviously the fact that it's in the middle of the year. You don't want to have a bye week super early. You don't want to have a bye week super late. If you can get one in the middle of the year, which the Jaguars should be able to do with this week 7 game in London, that would be excellent. And while it would be very cool to be able to host like your former employers, if you're James Gladstone and Liam Cohen, and your former team, and not just Gladstone and Cohen, but a lot of the front office now, scouting, all that stuff comes from Los Angeles, comes from the Rams organization. So it would be cool to be able to host them in Jacksonville. I think it will also be cool for them to be able to get out to London and enjoy that there. And this will be this regime's first trip to London. But there are people in the building, including the players and Tony Baselli, who kind of can help guide, I think, Gladstone and Cohen on this trip out to London. And obviously they have coached and been in situations where they've had to play outside of the country. But first time doing it as a head coach for Liam Cohen, that's going to be an exciting matchup. I think I'm going to dive more into the specific matchups within each game after the schedule release. But, the Rams obviously boast Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, the Florida State guys that everybody loves, Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. They've really built a talented overall group, and they went out and got Devontae Adams to pair with Puka Nakua after losing Cooper Kupp this year. So to me, it's a fun game to be in London to watch at 9:30 a.m. in the morning. I personally very much enjoy waking up and watching football. Obviously, with a soon-to-be 2-year-old, I will have been awake for some time by the time 9:30 rolls around. But nonetheless, I think it's fun getting football that early in the day. So that's the one game we officially know for the Jaguars is going to be week 7. And again, that should, if they want it, give them the bye week in week 8, unless the NFL is kind of changing their policy on how they've handled things. But the Jaguars have had the opportunity in the past when they come home from London to have that bye week. We'll see how it plays out. The Jaguars on paper have like the 5th or 6th easiest strength of schedule in the NFL, in large part due to playing in the AFC South and having that 3rd place schedule. But when I look at this, I do not think this is an easy schedule at all outside of the division. I mean, I think the Jaguars should be better than the Colts and Titans, and I think they should be on the same playing field with the Texans. But playing the NFC West, a division that features the 49ers, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the AFC West, which is, in my opinion, the toughest division in football, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, that's tough to me. It absolutely is. So even though people can sit here and say the Jaguars have one of the easiest schedules in the league, I don't think it's too easy. Looking at the games in Jacksonville, 3 divisional opponents, as we mentioned: Chargers, Chiefs, Jets, Seahawks, Panthers. Outside of the Chiefs, you're not really talking about any of the marquee teams in the conference there. And to me, that's a win. Like, you don't have to host the Bills or the Ravens, right? Obviously, the Chiefs is going to be extremely difficult. I know a lot of people like to get down on the Chiefs after every offseason, but I don't see them falling apart. I think the Chargers are going to be a tough smash mouth football team under Jim Harbaugh's direction, and obviously Justin Herbert. And, last time they came into Jacksonville, it didn't quite end the way they had hoped. But that's going to be a fun one. They added Omarion Hampton. They added some beef up front on the defensive line. Again, we'll get into the specific matchups that I think will help determine and dictate these games later on. But Jaguars, Chargers should be good. Jaguars, Chiefs, you hope it's good. Jaguars versus Jets. Justin Fields is the Jets starting quarterback. You've obviously got the defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions coming over to be the head coach there, Aaron Glenn. And I love for them that they decided to, try to kind of make the Jets into the Detroit Lions identity-wise with that offensive line. They went out and for the 2nd straight year, they went offensive tackle in the 1st round. Thought that was smart. So the Jets coming in here, they're going to be trying to be a smash-mouth running football team, tough, aggressive defense coached by Aaron Glenn and company. The Seahawks, obviously Mike McDonald going into year 2, they really reshaped the way things look there on the offensive side of the ball. I personally don't think that Sam Darnold is a better quarterback than Geno Smith, and I know that Sam Darnold kind of fits this Shanahan-style scheme they have coming in, and they did some things to try to really get that going in the right direction with Kubiak, but I'm not sold 100% on some of those moves. I do think they're going to have a tough defense with Mike McDonald and the talent they have, but that's one I'm excited to see. I mean, Sam Darnold came in here last year in Jacksonville, and he had a stinker, but the Jaguars' offense was just a little bit worse with Mac Jones leading the way. I think the Jags' defense could have some fun playing against Sam Darnold. No DK Metcalf, no Tyler Lockett. Then the Panthers. The Panthers come into Jacksonville, the 2 1995 teams, and I like the direction they're going in. They have a tough offensive line. I like Bryce Young a lot. I love that they added a wide receiver at the top of the draft for him to be able to throw the football to and build a relationship with and chemistry with. And then defensively, I think they've done some good things. I still think there's some question marks on that side of the ball. But overall, outside of the Chiefs, you got the Chargers and Texans as playoff teams. I think that the Texans and Jags should be heated matchups for many reasons. Obviously, the division rivalry, some of the things that happened last year, Aziz Al-Shaair, that's a matchup I think is going to be circled. I know the Titans are the Jaguars' arch rivals, but the Texans are right there now. And obviously the Jaguars have not lost to the Colts in a long time in Jacksonville. So that's kind of the home preview. Games on the road, you have 4 trips out west, right? You have to go on the road against the Raiders in Las Vegas, the Broncos in Denver, the Cardinals in Arizona, and the 49ers in San Fran. That's what happens when you get paired up with the NFC and the AFC West. You're going to have a lot of road trips on the West Coast. Away opponents, though. You got the 3 divisional games again: Raiders, Broncos, Bengals. That'll be interesting. Cardinals, 49ers. I think Bengals are a team that they have been a marquee name in the past. So the 49ers, they're a little bit down right now. They're trying to claw their way back up to be in that kind of upper echelon of teams in the NFL. And there's reasons to believe it could happen. There's also some reasons to believe it might not happen. Bengals defensively, they got rid of Lou Anarumo. I think that was a mistake, and he actually went over to the Colts, which is a little bit of a upgrade for the Colts on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion, over Gus Bradley. Lou Anarumo coming in. But Bengals trying to get back to it, and they have obviously the trio in the passing game: Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Pretty good offensive line overall. Chase Brown fit with what they were doing running back wise. So they've got an offense you have to worry about. Defensively is the question mark for them. And then the 49ers are a team that tried to revamp their defense. They brought Robert Saleh back. They went and got 2 big-time run defenders early on in the draft. These are exciting matchups. I mean, I don't know how you – and I know there's formulas and on paper and all that stuff, but to me, looking at this schedule, I would not guess that it was the 5th or 6th easiest schedule in the NFL. What we're going to be looking for: different stretches of home games and away games. There's always games every year, like a stretch of games where I'm like, okay, that's a winnable stretch. Last year was at the end of the year. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence was injured, but I thought that they had a stretch at the end of the year where if they had health and they were playing the way they expected to play, they would have had a really good chance to win a bunch of games down the stretch. And then right before that, they had like the NFC North, a bunch of games in a row. I thought that would be a stretch where they lost a bunch of games, and they did end up losing a bunch of those games. But you see that every year. So how that ends up shaking out will be something to watch, just kind of those stretches of games where you think they can make or break the year. The primetime game is obviously going to be huge. You're playing the Rams in that exclusive slot, which to me, the London morning game might not technically be primetime, but you're only a game on. For me, that's primetime. That's fun. Are there any other primetime games? I would expect at least 1 or 2 more primetime games. I do think the NFL will have their eyes on Travis Hunter, so that's going to be something to see. Is there stretches where, or not stretches, but how many weeks are there where you're like playing a team coming off of a bye week? Different things like that can definitely impact your overall strength of schedule and the difficulty of managing the season. Like if you're getting a bunch of teams coming off bye weeks, that can be tough to manage for sure. Right now, looking at this slate of games and knowing what we know, Rams week 7, London, probably a bye week right thereafter. I have them at 9-8. I have the Jaguars at 9-8, and I don't know if that's going to be good enough to make it into the playoffs or not. But we'll talk about these games more, more dialed in and more in depth once the schedule comes out. I think we'll talk about the schedule in general, and then probably also have like an official record prediction show, both of those after the schedule release. And tomorrow, I think we're going to look at the floor. Talked about the ceiling, which I do think the Jaguars could win the division and win a playoff game this year. We'll talk about the floor tomorrow. My best guess right now is 9-8. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.